So we're back with a letter.
A letter. It's been a couple months.
It's been a while. I'm really excited. I almost deleted this letter though, because it's
Why?
a subject line. So when a lot of people send us their letters, they just make up, like they go and like make up a new Gmail account. So it's always like from like 56825 or whatever, something weird. So
Yeah.
the subject line said sperm donor. And in my head, I'm like, oh God, what kind of websites has Jesse been leaving our email there? Like, what has he been looking up, like under our name?
I've heard it's a great way to make cash fast.
Yeah.
Sperm donor.
Yes.
Well, wait, before you read it, I have to ask you about a tweet I saw this morning from you talking about how you're swearing off dating apps.
Oh my God, this is like the
No, but
same
hang on.
song. Come on.
Yeah, but I think it's because, well, first of all, the reason it struck me is because normally this is the sort of thing we text about, you and I didn't get a text about no dating apps or you being in any kind of hot water with a guy. So I'm like, I'm going to ask her on air what this is about deleting the dating apps.
So like a month and a half ago, I got dumped and I didn't take it very well. And I was really upset. And, you know, I've always struggled with feeling very lonely living in Ottawa. So
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? You got to get back in there, Jenna. You can't just like, just because this one didn't work out doesn't mean like, I was trying to get myself out of the part of the breakup where you hate yourself and you think everything's wrong with you and that you're going to be alone for the rest of your life. You
I
know?
understand that. And you have always been very optimistic when it comes to love and dating. Like you get right back on the horse.
Yeah, exactly. But this one stung a bit. So I was like, okay, maybe the dating app will help. So I uploaded Hinge again and I was on it and like it was just not the best. And so I was like, maybe I'll like do another one too and have two dating apps going. Like, hello.
Oh God.
So I had downloaded Bumble and like honestly, my feelings of like self despair and everything just got worse and worse. And
Oh no.
you know, and it was because there's just such a lack of selection that I saw. And I got so sad about it and discouraged. Like I was crying in the bathtub. Like it was a bad state of affairs. So I figured, you know what? Maybe that was doing more harm than good. And so I deleted them and it felt good. And I felt good since actually.
Good. I think that, and it didn't help when you saw my sister's ex-boyfriend on there.
Ooh.
Red flag.
Left.
Check your mic. I don't think your mic's working while I talk and try to delay here. But I'm agreeing with you that dating apps don't work. And I wonder if it's a personality thing because you and I are, you know, bold personalities, to put it lightly. And I think dating apps work for very generic, plain people that are easy to love.
Right. Sorry, there. I fixed my mic. My bad.
Yeah, way better.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
for me, it's just that initial conversation. It's so forced. It's so unnatural, and it's always the same questions over and over and over again. And they never. Once you're done with the questions, you expect the conversation to go somewhere, and it just never does. And it's like, okay,
no.
I just wasted my time. You know, like the attention's nice, but at the end of the day, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just personally, I found it more discouraging than encouraging, and I'm at that point right now mentally that I just can't have that in my life.
Well, and I remember previous to your last relationship, you weren't crazy about the dating apps then either. And you met that guy in real life, which
Right.
was what was so exciting to me about that relationship is that in this day and age, you can still meet people in real life. There is hope.
There is hope. And it's hard to see it right now because, you know, COVID and dating apps, everything's so complicated. But at the end of the day, there's got to be hope. You know what's hopeful is I'm not dying.
Oh, was that a risk?
Well, I've been doing a lot of biking, right? And I went on my longest bike. I did like over 20 Ks and I came home and then I went straight into a leg workout and I like totally screwed myself. Like I was like crippled after and I was like, oh, but then I was taking a bath and I noticed these crazy bruises.
Oh, I saw them on your Instagram.
Right. All on my thigh. And they were weird looking. It was like, there were little dots. And I'm like, whoa, that's so weird. And I don't bruise very often. So I look it up and don't Google your shit, people.
Right.
Don't Google your shit. I Googled
But what did it say?
that it can be like blood thinning disease. It can be cancer. It can be all these things. And when I posted that, I was wondering, because one of the things I saw was if you do strenuous exercise, blood vessels can break underneath your muscle. And that's what bruising can cause, or bruising can result from that. So, you know, like I was like, okay, maybe. But then I posted that seeing like maybe if there's other cyclists that have had this. And the only responses I got was from a friend who did beat cancer. And she's like, excess bruising is a sign of blood cancer. And I was like,
oh my God.
Then I just start freaking out. So I'm talking to my mom and I'm like, do I have to take a doctor's appointment? Like starting to freak out. And she's like, are you sure? Because I have to carry my bike up 2 flights of stairs and back down. She's like, are you sure it's not your bike? So I went over and picked it up like I normally pick it up. The pedal lies exactly where the bruises are. And my pedal has little spikes all over it. So that's where the little dots came from, but I'm not dying.
Thank God. That must have been such a relief when you figured that out.
It really was, because it was something that never happens to me. So I was really worried about it. And they were all over. I looked like I had leprosy.
Yeah,
I'll post a picture on our YouTube.
Okay. Yeah, it was, they were unusual looking, but I thought you were going to be right on with the broken blood vessels. That makes a lot of sense. What?
I didn't work out that hard.
Well, I thought you did because you'd been off for so many weeks with your broken leg. Right. So it made sense to me. One time I noticed on my bulging bicep, I looked like I had a perfectly round cigarette burn, but it was a bruise. And that must have been why. It was when gyms were open.
Yes, of course it was, Jesse.
They can't see that eye roll.
Of course it was. You could see it if you watch our YouTube channel.
Hey, Messy Podcast.
Really great comments on there too. And lots of people going, and new listeners or watchers or whatever the hell you want to call them, going and watching ones from a while ago and commenting on it. Like our great letter, in-person letter we did with Wendy. Someone just left an amazing comment about how awesome she was and how open she was. And then that's going to lead to such a great relationship. And I was like, yeah, we're not just getting people posting like, promote your shit on our website. Like, no.
I'm not surprised that episode gets a lot of hits because the title is, I want to watch my man get pegged.
Hey, whatever works, works.
Hey, that's right.
Right.
Including sperm.
Exactly.
I imagine will be in this episode's title.
Exactly. So this person wrote us and said sperm donor is the subject title. Can go many ways. Can go many ways.
I'm just curious. My big thing, because I feel like I know what this is about now, but it takes a totally different turn whether the writer is a man or a woman.
It's a woman.
Ah.
Hi, J&J. First, I want to say how sorry I am to have heard about Jesse's mom. She sounds like such a great person. And thank you for being so vulnerable and open on your last episode. I'm sure it helps someone out there who's dealing with loss.
Oh, thank you for saying that. Very sweet.
So this is kind of odd. No segue, just right in there. No lube, right in there.
Always use lube.
Our kind of writer. So this is kind of odd, even for you guys. I'm 30 years old and I have a fairly good friend. We've known each other for 5 years. We became a lot closer throughout my pregnancy, and she was super supportive, and it was great having her help my husband and me out when we needed it. Obviously, she was around more often, and she always commented on how perfect my baby was. I figured it was just what friends tell each other, and I didn't really think much of it. One day we were sitting at the park, and once again, she was talking about how cute and well-behaved my baby was, when all of a sudden she looked at me and said, "Would it be okay if I asked your husband to be my sperm donor?" You guys, I almost spat my coffee out. She just went right there with that extremely awkward question. I think she
And I'm assuming, wait, she must have been dead serious, because, you and I talk about having a baby, but we're like half serious, but mostly joking.
I have a feeling this woman was serious.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I think she could see that I was uncomfortable. So she went on about how awesome it would be if our kids were siblings. It'd be so cute. And that since she's single, she would rather have a donor that she knows. I told her I would think about it, but I'm creeped out. Am I an awful friend for thinking this is out of bounds? How do I let her down gently? Should I tell my husband? Can we still be friends after this? Can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. Thanks.
I mean, first of all, that's just what new parents need, right? Hey, cute baby, can I have one like it? Where'd you get that thing? Like, what the frick? Like, that is just,
right.
This
We're
is
like
crazy.
Human beings. We're not new pairs of shoes.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I love your shoes. They're so cute. Where'd you get them? Can I get them too? Even then I'd be like, no, bitch.
Yeah. And then yeah. And then you'd start thinking that your girlfriend wants to bang your husband.
Right.
I would start thinking, because like, if the baby's so perfect and you're willing to take his sperm, I mean, would you say no, sweetheart, on a drunken night?
I think first you need to evaluate your friendship. the amount of years you've known someone does not determine how close your friendship is. Jesse and I have known each other for 5 years, and I would say we're very close. I've known other people.
I thought you were going to be like, I could care less about it.
I've known other people for 5 years, and you know, we're not as close. We wouldn't share as much. I wouldn't be as vulnerable and open with them as you. So like really need to evaluate your friendship.
Yeah. I'm just like, I try to keep an open mind, and I'm thinking that this girl that asked that is probably just, she didn't think it all the way through. You know, she didn't think it all the way through. It's just kind of like, if you're going to ask somebody to do that for you, and I know people that have, you have to be very delicate and understand people need to go away and think about it. Like, it's not a flash decision.
Well, it kind of sounds like her friend was maybe really feeling the pressure of, and I can relate to the friend right now because I'm older and I'm about to have a birthday in a month. So, you know, I'm really feeling that I'm getting older. I'm not where I thought I would be in my life at this age. You know, time's a ticking. Plus, she's been hanging around you and your husband with a new baby a lot. I'm sure she's just feeling everything and just kind of blurted it out. And maybe herself needs to really figure out if this is something, the route she wants to go.
Well, you know, Sister Wives is a very popular show. Maybe
they're like they all just like left him now. Though I think he's only left with like 2 or something.
But I think that sounds like what
legit OG wife. Oh, sorry, the legit OG wife from the beginning. I think pieced.
Oh, the blonde one.
Yeah,
I never really watched that show.
My just has like Robin now. Yeah.
But that kind of sounds like what the friend's going for. If you love the baby, you love me, you love my husband, move on in, I guess. Like, I
mean, it is very possible for him to be a sperm donor and there be nothing, like there's nothing sexual about that.
Yeah,
you know?
Right. But
like,
it screws me up because on one hand, she says, be a sperm donor and then let's raise them as siblings. So is he a sperm donor or is he the dad?
Right.
Like, you can't have it both ways.
Right. I do understand like not wanting to do that with a stranger, but like, don't you have friends? Don't you have other male friends that would be more than willing to do that?
Don't you have a gay friend?
Right.
That's what we're good for. Yeah. I know a lesbian couple. I don't know the lesbians. I know a gay guy. His name's James. And he donated sperm to a lesbian couple. And because it's so expensive, they did it old school. There's kits you can order on Amazon.
I thought you meant like au natural.
No, not that old school. But he goes in the bathrooms, jerks it into a little cup and rushes out to the living room. And she's there with the syringe ready to go. And it worked.
Oh my gosh. There's this show on TLC. Obviously, we're relating everything back to TLC.
Well, in this situation.
Yeah. And it's called Smothered. And I only saw the preview, but it looked like it was a lesbian couple. And so Smothered's about a mother and daughters and sons who are just way too close. And it was this woman, she was talking to what I thought, again, I didn't watch the show, but I assumed it was her partner. Cause she was like, yeah, last night mom inseminated me. And the partner was like, what? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, your mother? And she's like, yeah, what's wrong with that? And like, you could tell, like, I wish I could watch the rest of the episode because you tell the partner would be like, if anything, wouldn't that be something I did? Like,
yeah. But they must have used like a turkey baster style.
You know, when it comes to things like surrogacy and sperm donation, like everyone has such a different opinion on it. And everyone has areas that they are sensitive about and that they aren't. So our writer really needs to be honest with how she feels about it and her friend. And at the end of the day, if your friend gets upset and isn't your friend anymore, she was never your friend to begin with.
Yeah, that's a very big thing to ask somebody. And you also don't know how you're going to feel until the baby's here. You know, that's a big reason that people use anonymous sperm donors so that they can't come looking for the kid. You know, James, my friend I was just talking about, he knows another gay guy that I have no idea who it is that donated his sperm also to a lesbian couple. But then when the baby was like 5 months old, he started to catch feelings like, hey, that's my kid. I want to be in their life. But it was too late because they'd signed all the paperwork. And, you know, so on both sides, you have to be sure that this is really something you can handle.
Right. And there's always ways to, like, you know, work it out so that both parties are happy at the end, you know, but it's just something you really have to talk about. It's not something you agree about while you're in the park.
No. But I do like the idea of using someone because think about the kid, right? When the kid gets older and they want to know where they came from and all this, what are you going to say? I was browsing through the catalog. This guy had nice eyes, so I just eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
But think about it, Jesse. The kids that are born today, that's not going to be an awkward situation or conversation. There's going to be other kids just like them.
That's true.
Right? Because this is 2021 now. All different kinds of shit are happening. There's going to be a bunch of kids who has one mom, doesn't know their dad. And it's not going to be because the dad run off. It's just because it was a sperm donor. Or there's going to be, kids that are born by their aunt, were like birthed by their aunt, but their mom and their parents are their parents because it's surrogacy. Like there's all these different, and that's going to be the future generations normal. Whereas it wasn't so normal.
And maybe that's a generational thing. I was going to say, like, how adopted kids, like even producer John said he had this burning desire to get to know his biological family. And I've heard that a lot from adopted kids. And I just wonder, if you were a sperm donor baby, would you always have this, well, who is my dad? Is that him? Is that him? Right. Every time you see a guy that looks like you.
Exactly. And if you're thinking of going that route, that's something you definitely need to consider and be prepared for. It's not to I think, sperm donor, if people can have children and they want to, then great, all good for them, not taken away from it. But there's a lot of, it's a very sticky area.
Hey, you're so funny. It is. And you might think you know how someone's going to react, but then you don't. Like when I was in a long-term relationship, we talked about asking my sister Justine to be our surrogate because, we're like practically twins. So I felt like if she had a baby with my boyfriend, that would be the closest thing to me and him having a baby.
Right.
Which is not a bad idea, right? But we brought the idea up with her and she was so weirded out. And she was like, okay. She was probably like 12 at the time too. But...
Right. I was like, your sister's not that old. So when did you guys ask her exactly?
Well, I brought it up again recently. We were saying, hey, remember this? And she said to me, the reason it was so awkward was not that actually doing it. It was the idea of explaining to the baby that your aunt is also your mom and your uncle is really your dad. It's like too hillbilly-ish.
But if you explain it in a different way, like that's the thing is what you're explaining is like a nuclear family. But when this is like your aunt carried you, not your mom.
Yes,
like your aunt carried you in her belly, and so that we could have you. Like she was just like a incubator for a bit.
You're so right. You have to dumb things down for kids. Like when you're like, where do babies come from? Well, they grow in my tummy. You don't try to say, well, it's actually in my vagina and my uterus. You just dumb it down.
There's been a lot of discussion, though, of using the actual proper terminology with little kids from a young age.
I have heard about this,
the terms vagina and penis and, so, because if, there's ever an instance where someone touches them inappropriately, like, don't touch my cookie, it sounds fucking weird. Like, and
you're right.
They can express themselves to parents and stuff and say, this is exactly where and what happened,
Yeah,
so
I can see that.
Yeah.
Well, no, but you're right. When you say things like, why not use terms? Like, think there's other terms that we don't have euphemisms for. We just don't understand. Taxes. When you're a kid, you don't know what taxes are. You hear grown-ups bitching about them.
Theft.
Right. Yeah. Oh, my poor little brother is having to grow up real quick after what happened to our mom. And he's like, last night he was just raging about taxes. He's like, what the hell is this? And how do you file this? And why do they want this line number? And I'm like, oh, Jake. Welcome to adulthood. Remember when you were a kid and you wanted to grow up and all the grownups are like, no, you don't want to grow up. This is why.
Honestly, like, does he ever look at his paycheck too? Because that really fucking hurts.
I told him to, he's like, no, he's in construction, straight guy. And I was like, go check, it'll piss you off.
That's even more. They almost take half of what you make, bro.
Oh, it's painful. Yeah.
But back to our listener, I think I do think you should say something to your husband.
Yeah, let's ask him. Hey, why doesn't he have a say in this?
But that's a conversation that clearly involves him. And I just think it's fair that he's a little bit in the loop of how this woman is seeing him.
Yeah.
And I think both of you should sit down and talk to her and just explain in a very mature, I understand where you're coming from and I understand you want a family. However, for us, it's just not right for us, to do that. But we'd be more than happy to support you through the progress, because she supported them through their baby, then, but if she, just gauge the scene. And if she starts getting weird and squirrely and, then maybe that's a friendship not worth having.
You're right. And it may end anyway, because if it's just too awkward, like the thing I'm worried about is that if the friend was really lighthearted and like really was thinking this is a fun thing they could do as girlfriends, and then the mom comes and has this big serious sit down, that's probably going to hurt her feelings and be like, okay, I thought this was a positive thing, you know?
Except for sperm donor and having children isn't like a joke.
And it's a pretty big deal. Yeah.
It's not like, hey, let's go get matching tattoos. No.
But okay, but that's even a good example, because let's say you wanted matching tattoos and I didn't. Now I have to explain to you why not. Like, I don't want a tattoo with you. Well, I guess me is a bad example because I don't have any tattoos. But if I did, that could hurt your feelings.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, at the same time, like, I'm sure I've suggested getting matching tattoos with tons of my friends and they've been like, no.
That's true. That's true.
You
Again,
know,
every time you
at the
bring
end of the day, if they're really your friend, they're not going to hold something like that against you.
No,
that is a
no.
huge decision. It's a personal decision, you know?
Yeah. I'm trying to give the friend too much credit, because I just can't believe that somebody would be serious about this sitting at a park.
Right. Well, is there ever really a good time to bring it up? Probably not. So,
well, let's take advice from our good pal Christopher Lovestone earlier this week. He said, you got to set the stage. Hey, I have something really big I want to talk to you about.
Right. Kind of what I did.
Do any of that.
Yeah, kind of what I did to you at the beginning of this episode, behind the scenes.
Yeah. Jenna's about to tell me she's pregnant. Stay tuned.
No, I'm not. No. I'm not. But yeah, no, sit down, include your husband in this whole thing, you know, and just, just talk it through. Maybe she will, once you guys express how you feel, maybe she'll realize how silly it kind of was in the first place.
Yeah. And I was going to say, and maybe you'll find out that she was joking or not serious, but that's not really a joke. So,
or even better, if your husband has a brother, offer his sperm up.
Yeah. Can we hear from the man? Can you please have the husbands write us a letter and give their take on this? Because I feel like they have to be the ones to decide. They're the ones that are going to give you the substance or not.
Yeah, which is why you need to include him in this discussion with your friend.
Yeah, not us. Why are you talking to us?
Good luck, though.
Yeah. Let us know what happens. And if you need a baby name, Jesse and Jenna are great choices.
Right. Also, if you want to send us a letter, please do. Jesse and Jenna's messy podcast at gmail.com.
Cheers.
Cheers.